So I want to talk about what can happen if you let them back in. There's a reason that with all of those domestic abuse things, anything you watch from Oprah to doctors to anyone, they tell you it gets worse as you let somebody back in if they've already mistreated you. There's reasons for that. And the last video, we talked about if they're trying to contact you and you not answering them, and they're trying to contact you and you trying to make the right decision as to whether or not you answer them. Well, let me just tell you a little bit about what happens when you let them back in. A toxic person, a narcissist, an unhealthy person, okay? They already know they've disappointed you. That's why they're no longer in your life. Now, you letting them back in, I don't know what the infraction was. I always say details don't matter. You have your story, I have my story, we all have our story, right? They're usually pretty bad. I call them disaster dates, right? The date that you found out something, you heard something, you felt something, they cheated on you, you caught them, whatever it is. So you have probably a list of disaster dates. You finally said, no, you're broken up. They call you, Monday's video was about that, and say you do answer them and you let them back in. They now know you'll accept that behavior. You might say, no, I let him back in saying he can never do that again. Okay, here's the thing. And the next video, Fridays, is about what we allow to be treated, how we're allowed, what treatment do we accept for ourselves. This is the thing. I've now arrived at a point where I won't accept one thing that it's done. Meaning you might go, well, what do you mean? Everyone's human. No, I mentioned name calling in the last video. If I ever went on a date, got involved with, I was 3 months in, and all of a sudden out comes a name, a derogatory, I'm sorry, no. Not funny, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not stodgy, I have a sense of humor. I'm talking about in a malicious, mistreating way. So, now you've let this person back in. So whatever your infractions were, he cheated, he did this. He now knows, even if you cried and said, I don't want you to do it again, they already did it once to you. They had the capability of doing it. It didn't bother them. They did that. You broke up with them, sure. Yep, so did I. And then you have them back in for coffee. We'll just say that, right? So now they know what? With our behavior, we're telling them, we're showing them that we accept what they did to us. Well, what do you mean? That I should never see him again? Right! Yes. If somebody mistreats you, and they use the word abuse with this disorder, I know I don't like the word. I hate to think of myself as having put up with somebody that was giving abusive behavior, but it is indeed what they define it as, and they do call it that. So yes, if somebody has treated you that way, as a way that can be classified as abusive, yes, that is what they say. Never let them back in. It will get worse because now they're going to test you further. They know that they could do this, this, and this, and you let them back in anyway. That's done. They know they can do that again. So they do all that again until you catch them again. But now they're going to push it further. They did one thing more. Maybe they had the person in your house when they were away. Like, I don't know, just one thing more. It's going to get worse and worse and worse because now they're going to push. You had a boundary. They broke it. You moved your line in the sand up the beach to accept these infractions now. You've let them back in. So now you moved your line up out of the sand. I know you said don't do this anymore. So did I. They do it again and again and again and worse. In your face, wide open triangulation, making you jealous, right out loud, mean about it, denigrate you, insult you. What's it going to take for this girl to make me go away? Women, men, both genders end up, how do you say, punching bags? How much will they take? I've seen people take so much abuse before they finally leave. And I don't mean physical punching bags. You know what? Je m'excuse. That was not a very good example because there are some with the physical abuse. I'm sure people do feel that's terrible. I could cry at that. Oh my God. God forbid. The punching bag thing wasn't a nice analogy. But I don't want anyone being abused in any way. And when you are letting someone back in who has already shown you who they are, somebody tells you who you are, believe them. Somebody shows you who you are, believe them. Don't try to, I spent so much time trying to make him think and me think that he could be a better person. They're not. They're just not a good person. That's how they go through life. Okay, you're not for me. Next. I don't mean next, but you know what I mean. No, I'm not accepting that behavior. God help you. No, you're not getting near me again. No, not doing it. I just saw myself. There's hairs in my eyes, isn't it? But like, you don't want to like, I'm just going to do it while we're on camera. You don't want to let them back in and suddenly say to them, you have permission to do this, this, and this. And again, it has nothing to do with what you told them not to do. Oh, now I just made a total mess. It has nothing to do with what you told them not to do. They're seeing by you letting them back in. They're seeing it. And you might say, well, you know, I was seeing somebody else and he was so nice. There's a difference between healthy. A client said that to me the other day. That's why that came in. She's learning there's such a difference between healthy and not. And you can tell the difference. You can tell the difference. They're urgently, you guys, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make this be like a hair tutorial, but I had a disaster and now I fixed it. But they're not trying to be all kind-hearted and loving because they had some epiphany and they really want back in because you're the end all for them. They're just telling you that they want to come back in and that they learned their lesson and that they're sorry and that they'll never do these infractions again. But the minute that you get settled and they see that you're comfortable and you've lightened up and you're not looking at their phone anymore and your questions have ceased and it's been a month, what do you think they're doing? They didn't change. They're going to go do the same. They're going to use the same tactics. And if you're onto one, okay, he can't say bowling anymore because you caught him one night when he said bowling. Well, suddenly he has a poker game. Or I'm going to watch the game with the guys. And he's calling friends to lie for him. All that stuff doesn't change. And they're going to keep doing it and it's going to get worse. They don't respect you now. I started to realize he can't possibly respect me if I'm allowing him to come back in. After the list of things I had that he did, it's impossible to respect. It's not, oh, she's such a good person, she let me back in. It's, wow, I can't believe she let me back in. I bet I could do X, Y, Z, and this girl would let me stay. I bet I could do this, this, and this, and she'd let me stay. If she forgave me after doing this, this, and this, I'm golden. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. They're out to manipulate. And again, this is not me bitter. I am not bitter. I know many a good men and many a good women who are not this type of person. But if you are indeed wrapped up with this type of person and they have been hoovering you and now you are letting them back in, I want you prepared on what to expect. It might feel blissful. They may even pretend to behave for a year, but they're not fixed. And are you ignoring red flags? Were they rude to you the other day and you're ignoring it because you're walking a tightrope, you're walking on eggshells? You don't want to upset the narcissist. We don't want to wake the beast within. Can't upset the narcissist. Are you out of your mind? You should be able to walk freely and say if you disagree with something and have a problem with something they're doing. A healthy relationship, you can say, you know what, I'm not really comfortable with you going to lunch with 6 women. You can say that in a healthy relationship. Oh, they're just colleagues. Oh, all right. With a narcissist, they're not colleagues. And you know it, and he knows it, and he knows you know it. And they just keep pushing and pushing and pushing because you allowed all this and let them back in. I don't care how apologetic they say they are about the stuff that happened. I don't care. They're not. They can say it, but they're not. And they feel entitled to behave that way. So now you've just given them all the information they need. They know they could commit all this and be asked back anyway. They know what it took for them to say to you, for you to take them back. So they have it all lined up, ready to say again if you catch them again. And it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And before you know it, 15 years goes by. And you have a list of infractions that's the size of a phone book. Young people, there used to be a book with numbers in it. Isn't that weird to think of a phone book? But that's the size of the infractions that you have. And there you are, and 10, 15 years goes by, and all of a sudden, it's gotten worse and worse and worse, and they're insulting you, as they do, more and more and more. And then now you find yourself in this relationship and you've lost all sense of yourself. Please be awake to this. If you take somebody back who's abusively been with you, or I should say, put that kind of behavior on you, please look at it again. They don't deserve your company. I'd rather you be by yourself. Are they respecting you? Are they being nice to you? Well, he said he's going to from now on. Uh-huh. Of course he said that. Or she said that, pronoun here. Of course they did. I want you to be awake. My goal, my concern is you. I don't want people being duped anymore. I'm mad right now because I'm thinking of somebody the other day that said this to me, a client. I should have known. But you can't do that to yourself. But move forward and very keenly look at what's in front of you and think about the truth of the person that's in front of you. I'll talk to you guys Friday.